Other guys, as they come in, give yourselves a round of applause. It's week 4. Week 4. How we doing, Derek? You good? Your cohort doing all right there on both sides? Go Orioles training camp. Spring training, baby. Come on now. Pitchers, have they reported yet? They have, Scotty. Okay, good. Hey, fellas, good morning. Glad you guys are here. If you are new, we got music in the background. Is that my pacemaker? I think that's music. I didn't know. Sometimes, Wes, it connects to the sound. I get my chest starts kind of. Hey, good morning, fellas. Today is week 4 of our series on drifting, and we're going to have a great morning. Before we launch in, I have just a couple quick announcements. Hopefully, this won't be an issue since it's been cold enough for the whole year already. But we will meet unless schools are canceled. That means if there's a 2-hour delay, we'll meet anyway, and you're on your own if you can get here. If you decide, well, boy, it's a little scary out there, I don't want to drive, we will think less of you, but we're going to meet anyway, all right? No, that's Baltimore County, thank you. And hey, if you're new this morning, just join in. It's a great group of guys. And wherever you're at, in your own journey with God, your life, wherever you are, we just kind of want guys to feel welcome and a part of things. And so we're really glad you're here. One other thing, out on the table, as I often say when you come in, there's usually a sheet there to take notes with if you like. Greg French is kind enough to make those available for you. We might even put out a little reading or some type. This year, there's also something there. There's some guys that said, hey, we would like to golf together. And I go, well, that will be a humorous experience. We'll have a good time. So if you do have some interest in a spring golf league, we're going to do it at 5 o'clock on Thursdays at Greystone. And there's some details out there. You can put your name, your phone number, and your email. Preferably write it in English. That would be good. And legibly, so somebody can read it. And we will follow up with you. So if you have interest, we'll be letting you know about this over the next few weeks. But before you leave today, let us know that. It's going to be a lot of fun for some guys that want to play. There will be a limit. There is a limit, though, on how long you can look for lost balls. We just want you to know that. And if you go past a triple bogey, you're done on that hole, all right? Like, you're done. You're done. Hey, you guys know that as we continue on in this thing called Ironmen, which is a vision that started over 25 years ago, with just a few guys, we want to keep preparing for the future. I'm not going anywhere. I just happen to be the guy that got tapped on the shoulder to help facilitate this with some guys. But one of the things we've been privileged to do is have some younger voices as well, a part of our teaching team. And today you'll have the chance to hear again from a really good friend, Will Cox. Will is the CEO of Avila Home Healthcare. So if you know anybody that might need some home health care, they help people stay in their home as long as possible.
I see some potential clients in here now.
Exactly right. In fact, I didn't want to say that. I was hoping you would say that. But Will really is a dear, 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 dear friend. He and his wife, Janice, and their kids, and happens to be my son's best friend. So Will's going to facilitate us this morning on relational drift. So I'm going to turn it over to Will. So Will, take it away, buddy. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Pat. Thank you. Wow, thank you. Hey, thank you for letting me be here. It's a gift always to be able to share with you. So this session, if this is your first week, the session's on drift. And the idea about drift, right, the image that we keep using is that when you go into the ocean, you kind of hang out, and then you go to get out, all of a sudden you're about 100 yards down the beach. And what you didn't realize because you weren't paying attention and because you weren't actively swimming against the drift is that you'd get to a place that you weren't planning on getting. And the idea is that happens to us in life. And the reality is, drift is the default, right? Drift is just what naturally happens. And it happens for a couple different reasons. But the main 2 reasons that I think it happens is, number 1, is our sin in our hearts, is the tendency that we have to worship ourselves, the tendency that we have to go towards selfishness and immediate gratification and comfort. And so because of all these things, we try to figure out ways that we can do that. And that leads us to drifting more and more into places that we wouldn't necessarily want to be. And the other thing is the forces around us, right? The world. And if there's sin in our hearts, there's sin in the world, and the world is broken. And so what happens is now we have this thing in our hearts that kind of force us to think about ourselves all the time. And then we have the world that's also influencing us. And the idea is that if we don't pay attention to where we're going, we're going to end up in places we don't want to be. And so that's why a couple weeks ago, Pat talked about being intentional and really thinking about your life. And last week, Jordan talked about repenting is coming to your senses, right? The younger son and the prodigal son coming to his senses and going back to the Father. So we have to fight against this drift. Romans 12:2, right? Do not conform to the pattern of the world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Drift is the default. And that's why that Jesus doesn't say, whoever wants to be my disciple has to take up his cross once. Right? What's it say? We have it on a slide, just so you can look at it with me. He says, whoever wants to be my disciple must deny themselves and take up their cross, what? Daily. And follow me. And one of the things spiritually that happens to us is we just think to ourselves, okay, I made that commitment, I made that decision, and now I'm good. And Jesus is saying, no. When you wake up, if you do not intentionally choose me, who are you going to intentionally choose? Yourself. You will just naturally choose yourself throughout the day. Self-preservation, right? Self-promotion. That's just who we are. Unless every day you choose to take up your cross. When Jesus is teaching the Lord's Prayer, it's designed to be a daily prayer. He says, give us this day our daily bread. And he says, when you pray like this. And it's interesting too, isn't it? Because he teaches to ask for forgiveness of sins. This is Jesus who didn't sin, saying, hey, when you pray like this. Forgive us our sins. So what is he saying? He's saying, hey, every single day you should expect to ask for forgiveness. Like, that's a question for me that's challenging, is when is the last time I asked for the forgiveness of my sins? Every single day you should expect to have to forgive someone. Every day you should expect to have to ask for forgiveness as we forgive those who've sinned against us. We don't think of that as a daily prayer. But Jesus is saying, listen, it's almost a great little model of how not to drift is the Lord's Prayer. Every day, here you go. And last week we talked about spiritual drift. The truth is there's so much overlap between spiritual drift, relational drift. All these things are going to be connected, so there's going to be overlap. But I would just say this. Every day we have to choose. So I try to think about a definition of relational drift. This was my rough go at it here. So it's way too long for a definition. The first sentence is really the definition, and the second one is kind of an explanation of how it happens, okay? I don't know why I put quotes around it. I'm quoting myself. That's not intentional. Okay. Relational drift is when we stop proactively pursuing those closest to us with effort, vulnerability, and sacrifice. By setting our relationships on autopilot, we end up with relationships that are, in best case, shallow and polite, and worst case, dysfunctional and abusive. Left unattended, we naturally drift towards selfishness and isolation. So, when I was thinking about this, the phrase that kind of hit me was, our relationships in best case are shallow and polite. And I think about my relationship with my dad that was shallow and polite. You know, I think about how many different relationships I have through my life that are just like, it's fine, we don't have any issues, but there's no tension, but it's just polite. You know? And the reality is we have to be intentional to love somebody with vulnerability, sacrifice, and effort to be able to have relationships of depth.
Shouldn't your name be up underneath that?
Yeah, I should take credit for that. You're right. And this is the truth of also our relationship with Jesus. And I think that the reality is that sin, when it's broken into the world, when it's broken into our hearts, it affects all of our relationships, right? The drift is not only with Jesus, but it's also with one another. And I want to show you an illustration that I saw some camp speaker, his name is Pat Goodman, he's always talking about icebergs, at a Young Life camp one time. So I want you to imagine for a second, so I want you to, if at least your heads are turned towards me, okay, if not your bodies. But the illustration is this, is that if I'm God and you are all of you, okay, you were designed to be in a relationship with me. See how everyone is facing me. This is the way the world was created to work. That everyone would fix their eyes on the author and perfecter of their faith, the one who loves them the most, and you would be in direct relationship with me. Now, as you are in relationship with the Lord, you'll notice something else that you can see. You'll notice that you can also see the faces of the other people in this circle, the ones that you're directly across, right? So you see the Lord, you also see each other. What sin does is this. Now turn around for me. Turn your heads. Okay, and so what sin does is it not only cuts you off from the one who made you and loves you, but now all you see is the backs of people's heads. It breaks your relationship with others. Okay, except for those of you who are stubborn because you didn't want to turn your head. That's funny. Okay, but the point is this, that what sin does, it doesn't just break us off from the Lord, it breaks us off from each other. And so unless we make a daily choice to take up our cross, a daily choice of living out that prayer that Jesus taught us to pray, we're just going to continue to drift from each other. And so what I want to do, I want to start us off with a little exercise, okay? Because one of the things that's been really helpful for me is this idea that Pat puts in front of us is this eulogy. And the idea of writing your own eulogy, which I did one time, it kind of gets you to really think about how you want to spend your time, how your character, how you want to be remembered. But what has been helpful for me too has been thinking of a relational target that would represent success in a relationship that isn't as far away as a eulogy. And so what I want to think of is from 5 to 10 years, think of a few key relationships. Okay, and I'll give you an example in a second. 5, 10 years, 3, somewhere in a closer window. And I want you to think of an image that if you got to that point in that relationship, that would be significant success for you. Okay, and I'll give you an example. I was driving my son home from basketball practice. He's 9 years old. It was just me and him. I let him sit in the front just because, I'm edgy, and we're driving. And I just had this thought as we're driving home, and I thought, gosh, I can't wait till Griff is a junior in high school and we're taking a road trip to check out colleges he might want to go to. Right? And so I just kind of had this image, and I thought of that, and I was like, because here's the thing. Number one, if he was excited to do that with me, right, and we were looking forward to do that, like, what that would mean is from now until those next, 7 years or so, I would have done a lot of things right to get to that point, right? And so the idea is, let's try to think of 3 key relationships. And then let's think of an image of relational success in those relationships. So it could be a relationship that right now is strained, or there's some distance already there. You feel like it's already drifted. And where would you like to see that relationship be? Right? So it's the same idea of the eulogy. We're just zooming it in. Now, some of you, 5 to 10 years, it is your eulogy. No, I'm just kidding. That's bad. But I want you... Sorry, is that messed up? Okay. Hey, it could be for me too. We don't know. All right? Could be me. Lord's timing. He's going to strike me down. I know. All right, so here's the idea though. Think of 3 key relationships. Think of where you'd like that to be. A symbol, an image of relational success. I'm going to give you 5 minutes to do that. I did put pieces of paper down for you to be able to write it down. If you have a notebook or something, obviously don't need to use the piece of paper, but it's just to help guide you. So we'll give you about 5 minutes to do that, and then I'm going to give you time around your tables. Okay, go ahead. Let's go ahead and we can start time around your tables. And the 2 questions that I want you guys to discuss. Number 1, what relationships came to mind? Just kind of share what you just thought about. All right, what relationships came to mind? What were the images of relational success you thought of for them? And then secondly, once everybody kind of gets a chance to share, are there any trends? Anything that you notice that is in common with what the table's sharing? The other thing I'd say is this, just as you go into your table time, something our table does most weeks is just opens it up before we even get into the content, is to just kind of open up if anybody has anything that they need prayer for or anything major going on. And I think that for a while, I would feel at our table that we would spend a lot of time discussing the topics, but then somebody is dealing with something at home that's really heavy on them. And if we don't take a second to just say, hey, does anybody have anything going on, whether it's something with your job or your spouse or your health or something, people can have a weight and come here and sit here for an hour and a half and leave and still have that weight. You know, and so if anything comes from this, we got to make sure to be intentional about connecting. So whatever the content is, I would say most weeks, take at least a few minutes to just say, how are we doing? And then if everyone says, doing good, then jump into it. But you don't know. Somebody at your table might really have something they want to talk about. So anyway, that's just kind of for you. But yeah, go ahead, get into your tables and discuss the questions. I'll give you 15 minutes. Let's bring it in. I'd love to, so finish that thought. Hey Josh, give me a little more volume. Okay, here we go. Let's go ahead and bring it in. I hope that was a gift to you. We're not going to take a whole lot of time to unpack that as a large group, but I hope that was a helpful exercise for you. It may have been worth the price of admission already, just for you to take some time and think about important relationships and where you'd like them to be. It's that simple. And as Pat would say, we actually have some say in where our relationships go. And so for you to take some time and to think about it, and I do want to mention this before I forget because we're not going to go through this, but Eric and Jenny have an amazing ministry to married couples called Sparrow Ministries. And he put together this handout. It's on the table on your way out to grab one, but it's principles and cornerstones for a thriving marriage, taken from Genesis 1 and 2. And I would just take a picture of it so you have it, but it's really helpful questions for you to consider yourself for reflection, but also ones for you to ask your spouse. But I think the idea of the exercise is for you to think about where you'd like your relationships to be and then work towards them. So I think that there's a flee and pursue principle from from a verse in 1 Timothy or 2 Timothy, and we have that verse up here. And it says, flee the evil desires of your youth and pursue righteousness, faith, love, and peace, along with those who call on the Lord out of a pure heart. And I love this verse because it shows this principle. It's flee and pursue. And sometimes when we think about our faith, we think about our Christianity and what we invite people into, what we think of is don't do bad things, right? We think of just the first part, flee the evil desires. That's all it is. Hey, just flee the evil desires, don't do bad things. But it's not just what you're running away from, it's what you're fleeing towards, right? Flee the evil desires and pursue these other things. You see, we need a target to try to hit. We don't need just a bunch of targets to not hit. Early in marriage, my dad had a crazy temper, scary guy. My wife experienced that only a few times before he passed. But early in marriage, if I lost my temper, if I feel like I kind of lost control of my anger, Janice knew what she could say that would just like totally, and what is it? She'd say, oh, that just reminds me of your dad, right? And when she said, that reminds me of your dad, I mean, it just shut me down emotionally, right? And what I realized is that was not a beneficial statement. It was the Trump, she played that, she won. She wins, okay, I'm terrible, right? Because she knows that was a sensitive part of me. But the reality is, what she was doing when she did that is she held up a big target to not hit. What I needed was a target to hit. I needed a target, somebody, the goal isn't to not be like my dad, the goal is to be like Jesus. That's the goal. And so we started to change the language around that, and it was way more helpful. It's like when you play golf and you tee up and there's a pond right in front of you. If you just think to yourself, don't hit it in the water, don't hit it water, just don't hit it in the water. Where are you going to hit it? In the water. You don't even think about the water, you just look at the fairway, right? And so similarly, that exercise is a target for you to hit. It's a target for you to hit. It's so you don't think about don't lose your temper. Don't do, it's not just flee the evil desires. It's what's the target? Where do you want to be? Like one of the things I shared with my table when I did this for myself is I thought about how I want my kids to relate to each other. Like wouldn't it be so great is when they get to an age where they can actually choose who they want to spend time with, they choose one another. They enjoy each other. That's a target that I want to hit, and it has a lot to do with how I lead our family. So now the question is, how do we get there, right? We have the targets, how do we get there? And so we're going to, if you have your Bibles, you can open up, but if not, we're just going to read it out loud. I took several excerpts from Genesis 1 and 2. We're going to read those, and I kind of cherry-picked the relational parts that are explicitly God and man, and then we're going to read a healthy chunk of Genesis 3, okay? And so that's what we're going to do. I asked two guys to share, to read for me. So, Dave, can you go ahead, and then Leitner, you can take over.
So God created mankind in his own image. In the image of God he created them. Male and female he created them. God blessed them and said to them, be fruitful and increase in number. Fill the earth and subdue it. Rule over the fish of the sea and the birds of the sky, and over every living creature that moves on the ground. The Lord God took the man and put him in the Garden of Eden to work it and take care of it. And the Lord God commanded the man, you are free to eat from any tree in the garden, but you must not eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, for when you eat from it you will certainly die. The Lord God said, it is not good for the man to be alone. I will make a helper suitable for him. So the Lord God caused the man to fall into a deep sleep. And while he was sleeping, he took one of the man's ribs and then closed up the place with flesh. Then the Lord God made a woman from the rib he had taken out of the man, and he brought her to the man.
Okay, so those are the excerpts from Genesis 1 and 2. Okay, so you see kind of the development of God creating man, God giving certain responsibilities and roles to the man, this relationship developing between God and man and between the man and the woman. And so I'm going to ask two questions after this. And so before Ben reads chapter 3, it's where do we see God's relational pursuit in midst of all this? And then secondly, what happens to lead to the relational drift? Okay, so Ben, go ahead and read 3. Thank you.
Now the serpent was more crafty than any of the wild animals the Lord God had made. He said to the woman, did God really say you must not eat from any tree in the garden? The woman said to the serpent, you may eat fruit from the tree in the garden, but God did say you must not eat fruit from the tree that is in the middle of the garden, and you must not touch it, for you will die. You will not certainly die, the serpent said to the woman, but God knows that when you eat it, your eyes will be opened, and you will be like God, knowing good and evil. When the woman saw that the fruit of the tree was good for food and pleasing to the eyes, and also desirable for gaining wisdom, she took it up and ate it. She also gave some to her husband who was with her, and he ate it. Then the eyes of both of them were opened, and they realized they were naked. So they sewed fig leaves together and made coverings for themselves. Then the man and his wife heard the sound of the Lord God as he was walking in the garden in the cool of the day, and they hid from the Lord God among the trees of the garden. So the Lord God called to the man, where are you? He answered, I was in the garden and was afraid because I was naked, so I hid. And he said, who told you you were naked? Have you eaten from the tree that I commanded you not to eat from? The man said, the woman you put here with me, she gave me some fruit from the tree, and I ate it. And the Lord God said to the woman, what is this you have done? The woman said, the serpent deceived me, and I ate.
Okay. So, thank you, Ben. Thank you, Dave. All right, so that's Genesis 3, right? It all kind of starts to unravel. But first, where do we see God's relational pursuit of Adam and Eve? Throughout those, and you're familiar with the stories, Genesis 1, 2, and 3. Like, where do you see God pursuing a relationship with man? Great. He made him. Yep. Why did he make him? He didn't have to. He made him because he wanted him. He wanted to be in a relationship with them. It's great. Provisions. Took care of them. Right? You've got everything that you need. Awesome. Yeah.
So he realizes Adam's lonely and that there's not a suitable helper for him.
Yep.
So he wants
That's great. Made a suitable helper for him. Yeah. Yep.
All the gifts that he's giving, again, the spouse and the rule over all the earth and the animals and all the beauty that he's given.
So not only the gifts, but also the roles that he gave them, right? He gave them a part to play. You have a purpose in this. That is a relational gift, because what it is it's entering into a covenantal relationship. It's entering into, hey, my role is to provide what you need. Your role is to represent me to the creation that I'm giving you, right? And so he's entering into this relationship that will require the man to lean on God, right? So he's developing this whole thing of like, hey, yep, you've got a job, and part of that is to know me and rely on me. Yeah, what else? What about throughout chapter 3? Throughout them messing up. Anybody see how God pursues them in the midst of that? Yeah, Josh.
He was looking for them.
Great. Where are you? He says. Now, God is all-knowing, all-seeing. Do you think he actually couldn't find them? You know what I mean? It's like, no, he asks this question. He says, where are you? Why are you far from me? Why are you hiding? It's great. Anything else? Yeah, Ben.
Trust. I feel like he asked them to trust him, and they kind of didn't do a great job of that by eating the fruit.
Right. All right, gave them opportunity for trust. So here's the thing, guys. Like, this is why I'm starting with this. And I know that spiritual drift was last week, not this week. But what I didn't want to, as I was thinking about relational drift for this group, I'm like, gosh, the last thing I want this to be is like relational advice from Will Cox, because that is not what anyone needs. Okay? And I also don't want this to feel like just a self-help seminar of how to have the relationships you want. Because ultimately, if we just leave here with a bunch of to-do lists, like, we're going to ultimately feel frustrated and defeated. We might have a short spurt of excitement for relationships, and then we'll just end up doing what we normally do. But what I wanted to do to start with is recognize that God pursues us in midst of the brokenness, in midst of us choosing other things. He made us. He gave us this purpose. He gave us these relationships. And then he says, okay, now, and here's your job. And when we mess it up, he still comes out after us. He still looks for us. Where are you? He provides for us. This is in his nature, God relationally pursuing us. It is all through the Gospels. It is Jesus calling Zacchaeus down by name. It is Jesus showing up in Samaria and talking to the Samaritan woman. It is the Father running out to the prodigal son while he's still a far way off and doesn't even let him get through his apology. It's God pursuing us relationally over and over and over, right? And the reality is it's part of his nature, and here's the beautiful thing. You're made in his image. It is in God's nature to relationally lead and pursue us. You're made in his image. So what is in your nature? When you are living at your best, it is in your nature to relationally lead, love, and pursue the people in your life. It just is. And so while we can get a big list of to-do lists of here's what to do in a relationship, here's what not to do, at the end of the day, you fix your eyes on Jesus, you'll become more and more like the one who made you. And his nature of relationally loving, leading, and pursuing will become more like you. That'll just grow in you. Okay, so that's what I wanted to start with. Now, this will help us get into a little more of an application, which is, what did Adam and Eve do wrong? Okay, so let's get this out. What behaviors, decisions, or mindsets do we see that lead to a relational drift? Relationally with God and relationally with Adam and Eve. Throughout Genesis 3, what do we see happen? Yeah, Dave.
They didn't respect boundaries.
Okay. They did not respect boundaries. Good. They didn't listen, right? Yeah. What else? Yeah. Blaming. Yep, they blame each other. Yep, it was the woman. Right? And then who does the woman blame? It was the serpent. Right? It's good. Yeah, what else? Yeah.
Adam didn't lead wisely.
Okay, great. And can you talk more about that?
I mean, he should have. I mean, but
Yep.
So, when men don't, apply themselves in a wise manner, with their spouse or their children, and stay quiet, if bad things can happen.
Yep. That's beautifully said. What else? Yeah, Pat.
They allow their desires to drift away from the beauty and everything that God had already given them.
Okay.
A desire to find something else.
Yeah. Right? This disordered desires, right? I want to choose this over what God told me would be best for me. I have a few so I broke it down into these 4 that led to, and it kind of includes everything that we just said, but abdication, hiding, justification, and blaming. And this is the things that we still do every day that lead to relational drift. And so I'll share a few words on each one. Okay, but number 1, abdication. All right, abdication is to fail to undertake a responsibility or a role. And it was what was just shared. But basically, God gave Adam this command. And he gave the command before Eve was made. Right after that, he made Eve. Now, Eve knew the command, right, when she gets into this dialogue with the serpent. So either Adam had passed it on to her or God had said it more than once. We don't know. But the reality is, at some point, Adam has to say, this is not right. We shouldn't do this. And he was there, and it says that listen to verses, this is chapter 3, verse 6. When the woman saw that the fruit of the tree was good for food and pleasing to the eye, and also desirable for gaining wisdom, she took some and ate it. She gave some to her husband, who was with her, and he ate it. He was there, right? And he let it happen. It's abdication. It's not taking the role of leadership. So what does this look like for me in my life? This is me checking my phone incessantly for no reason at all when I'm with my family. This is me, and this is real examples of me just having to see how my fantasy football team is doing. And so I just excuse myself into the other room so I can quickly check, right? This is physically present, but emotionally and relationally, I am not present. This is my wife saying, what do you want to do this weekend? And I say, whatever you want, I'm busy. You make all the plans. Every social plan my wife makes. Instead of actually thinking and leading about, hey, what do I want to do with my family this weekend? See, that's abdication. It's a cop-out to say, I have no ideas for any social plan, so you just do it. This is my wife going to bed and me for some reason saying, I'm going to finish this on the TV, even though I should totally just go to bed with her, or scrolling on YouTube, right? And no judgment, these are all examples from my life. So this is us having a difficult conversation, my wife and I, or anybody, and then at the end we're good, but I know we're not actually good. But I already had the hard conversation, so I don't have to go have the second conversation to say we're good, right? Even though I know that's what she wants. You see what I mean? All of these things are just simple examples of just saying, I'm not going to take leadership. It's not overtly wrong, but spiritual drifting, relational drifting starts with just not taking leadership. Then there's hiding, right? So they hide, and what leads to hiding is the shame. So you start to mess up, you make a wrong mistake, and you hide. So that looks like emotionally shutting down, hiding behind the TV or another drink, or overworking, right? Hiding from relationships. And then there's justification and blaming. Justification sounds like this. Just this once. This isn't that big of a deal. No one else will know. Go ahead. Everyone else does it. I deserve this. You know, it's interesting, all these scandals come out with these people of power, but it's these people that are working so hard that you can just imagine their justification is like, I deserve this. I do so much for other people, I can have this. Or, no one will find out. It'll be okay, it's just between me. I'm not hurting anybody else. You guys see this? This is justification. And what they don't realize is that there's relational drift that's happening. And then blaming, when things become more about being right than it does being unified. Is this stuff making sense to you? You following along? Okay. I'm trying to get through it, so I want to give you a little more time at the table. So I'll say this. I think these 4 things lead to spiritual drift or relational drift. I think that there's kind of 2 different ways you can be thinking about this. One, are there relationships that you wish that were in a different place? But the other thing is this. We might have relationships that are good, but feel like they've plateaued a little bit. And what I want to challenge us with is maybe there's an opportunity to introduce a sense of mission into your relationship. And I think what Pat had shared about God giving us a role or purpose is a big part of it. I want to give an example, and then I'm going to give you time around your tables. So here's the thing. God always brings mission into relationship. He never lets the point of the relationship be that person. So when he calls Peter, he says, all right, follow me, you're going to be a fisher of men. Right? When he calls Paul, he says, Paul, you're going to follow me, you're going to be my instrument to call the Gentiles. He calls Abraham, he says, I'm going to bless you to be a blessing. He doesn't say, I'm going to call you so I can make you really happy. He doesn't say the goal of this relationship is your comfort, you're good to go. He makes it about something bigger than themselves. And if the goal of our marriage is to make our wife happy, we're going to fail. We can't do it. And we all know that, right? So the goal should be, what has God called us to do? What has God called us to be? Like if the goal of you being a parent is to make your kids happy, they're going to be chronically disappointed. And they're going to be kind of self-obsessed little kids. We have to introduce mission into our relationships, and I think that could help it go to a level of depth. I'll share one example. My friend who's not here, he usually comes, Chris Giesler, he was the committee chair when I was area director, and I remember we were hanging out, and I had 2 hubcaps missing off my minivan, and he goes, what's wrong? Where are your hubcaps? And I go, I don't know what to tell you. My wife drives like Jason Bourne. She's popping curbs and kicking ass. I don't know what's going on. So we missed him, and he goes, well, get the hubcaps. And I'm like, I've got a 2-year-old, a 4-year-old, my wife is pregnant, and I'm broke. So I'm fine without the hubcaps, okay? And so he's like, he takes it upon himself. He buys me 2 hubcaps. Now, he could have done that in any way. He could have dropped the hubcaps off. He could have Venmo'd me $50, say, get the hubcaps. This is what he did. He went, he took his kids, they bought hubcaps, and then they dressed in all black. All right, they put on Mission Impossible music, and they drove over and sneakily put it on our van, right? Now, here's what he did. He took an opportunity to serve and this opportunity for mission, and he said, I'm going to let my kids be a part of this, right? I think there's, and what a fun memory for them, and what a lesson of service, and it was just and I think Geese has done such a great job with his kids of introducing them into mission, into service, and I think that if your relationships feel plateaued, I think that you've probably made the goal the relationship. And the goal can't just be let's obsess about ourselves and see how we do. God says make it about something bigger, and then the relationship deepens, right? Okay, so I'm going to give you 15 minutes. Here's your table talk. Where in your life have you allowed a relationship to drift into autopilot? Which of these 4 shows up most often in your relationships right now? Abdication, hiding, justification, or blaming? What is your what is your reaction to infusing mission into your key relationships? Do you have a sense of a mission in your marriage with your kids? And then lastly, who might be waiting for you to take the first step toward connection? Okay? All right, we'll give you 15 minutes. Okay. I want to hear some takeaways. I'm about to, thank you. That's nice. The name is DJ. Hey, so I'm going to kick it to Pat here in a second. I did want to share one thing, though. It's interesting. Anybody who has ever led an organization, anybody who's ever had to lead a business, they know how important mission is to everything. Especially the bigger you get, the more important your mission gets. And for some reason, when it comes to families or relationships, we give no mission, we give no vision, right? But for an organization, it's absolutely key. And there's a great book called Dare to Lead by Brene Brown, and she really challenges you to have a mission or to have values the same as you would if you were starting a business. If you were starting a business, you say, hey, here's why we exist and here's what we're trying to do. Here are our values. But for some reason, we don't do that when it comes to relationships. My family did this a couple years ago. Our 2 values are courage and gratitude. I printed them out, I framed them, I put them on our wall the same as I would a business, right? And now our kids, we look for opportunities to look for those 2 values in our family. So John asked, are there more examples of how it looks like to infuse mission into your relationship? I think it starts with talking about what the mission is, right? And just saying, hey, what's the purpose of our family? What do we want to try to do? Choose some values maybe. And just for the sake of time, I would say, if you're like, I want more mission in my relationships, but I don't know where to go, your church. Church is the best first spot to go. To talk to somebody in leadership, say, hey, we want to serve, my family wants to serve, we don't know how. But I would say that. I want to give Pat a few minutes, but grateful to be with you this morning. Thank you, man.
Oh, Will. Thank you. Thank you, bud. Hey, I hope you guys are encouraged and challenged. I am challenged. I've got a name that I'm working on. And one of the things that I have been challenged by is this concept that we can always keep growing. Do you guys feel that that's okay to do? Because we need to. I don't, when you and I get to the point where we feel like, man, I got this figured out, this is all I need to do, we're right where we need to be. I know this, there's rarely been people that I've had relationships with that I've loved deeply when this side of glory, their life runs out, where I ever felt like, man, I didn't want a little more. In a good way, a little more. And it's not a guilt thing, it's just like, man, I wanted more of that. And so I really appreciate, we're trying to bring intentionality to these different areas where we drift. Will, thank you for doing that. Next week, to give you a little promo, we're going to talk about desire drift. So that'll be easy to talk about. And then we're going to spend a week talking about financial drift and then some habits that can really help us maybe not drift as much, though it's always going to be, I think, a little bit of a tension that we live in. And that's okay, but if we can get better at managing the drift, I think life's just going to be richer. And then the last week, just to give you a little heads up, we're going to review, and hopefully he said yes, he's coming in, a really dear friend of mine that I've had a chance to walk with for a really long time. I'm asking him to kind of put his laundry out in front of us and just share his story. We'll do a little Q&A, and he's been through some stuff, and I'm going to let him share that. But it's a beautiful story. I'll let you know now he's a weeper, so he'll weep and get it back together and probably cry a little bit more and get it back together in the course of the morning. So that's just who he is, and it's really beautiful. It's kind of what he does, and it's great. But I hope you're encouraged. You guys encouraged today? Yeah. Good. Great. Thank you. Also, please take one of those sheets that Eric and Jenny, they're 2 of my wife and myself's heroes. Starting Sparrow Ministry right out on the table. I've already took a picture and sent it to 2 people already this morning. One of them is my wife, because I know she would want a copy. And she'd go, honey, what did they write? I go, well, babe, it's right here. I gave it to you. And also, if you're interested in the golf, please put your name down there and we'll follow up. If you want to lose some golf balls together and laugh, that'll be great. All right? We'll do that. Hey, let's stand. We do need to just break the tables down, and any extra copies of stuff, we'll take that along with the table leader cards. Thank you again. It's going to be a great day. And guess what? It's supposed to be warming up, fellas. It's supposed to be warming up. Yeah. Come on. Here we go. Let's say it together. Proverbs 3. Let's start with that. Let's even say that together. Proverbs 3, 7 and 8. Do not be wise in your own eyes. Fear the Lord and shun evil, for this will bring health to your bodies and nourishment to your bones.